Hi guys, Billy back, and this time we are looking at the YM Toys M Ghost 1/6 scale figure, something a little bit different. Now while I was on holiday, it seems Hot Toys decided to drop everything, literally everything they've been pre-ordering for the last 2 years. It's pretty nuts. Doctor Strange, the whole shebang. Most of it's Disney Plus crap. I have no interest in it, to be honest. So I've been looking elsewhere to collect 1/6 scale, and I came across the YM Toys M Ghost on 16kit.com, and it piqued my interest. The prototype looked very different, very unique. I kind of got vibes of Blitzway Hunters from it, so that's why it piqued my interest, and it's the reason I ended up pre-ordering it. And it took a while to come out, but it's finally arrived, and now we can really take a good look at it. Now the packaging is pretty simple. It's just a black box with a silhouette of the character with M Ghost written on the front in sort of sketchy writing. There is a logo up the top. There is M Ghost written on the side, and again there is YM Toys logos and the M Toys logo on the back. It is a shoebox design, and when you open it up you can actually see inside its foam packing, which I always think feels really nice. And there are two layers. On the top layer you've got the figure, you've got her big massive weapon, you've got the extra head sculpt, a set of beads, and the extra hands. And then once you take that off, you can see underneath you've got pretty much the stand. You've got a couple of accessories to go with the stand, and you've also got a mask to also go with the figure. Overall the packaging is very nice. It's a bit simplistic, but I don't mind that. Sometimes they over design the packaging and it just makes everything look chaotic and cheap, whereas this one just looks nice, subdued, and a little bit more grown up. But now that we've had a look at the packaging, no one really cares. Let's have a look at the figure itself and the accessories. First off, we're going to take a look at the lance weapon she comes with. It's very nice. There's this really cool silver blade up the top. There's all this weird sort of mechanism on the edge, and you can see those sort of mint green and red accents throughout the actual weapon, and that's why it sort of tickles my fancy with the Blitzway Hunters, because they have a similar type of color scheme, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was slightly inspired by it. And you can see that the actual rod itself down the middle is metal and die cast. It's cold to the touch, and you can actually slide this handle all the way up and all the way down, and it actually extends the wiring that goes down, which makes it look really cool. It's a very nice looking accessory. There's nice speckling all the way throughout with some nice weathering. The metal bits are sort of like a dry brushed gunmetal, look really good. The red and mint green accents are not over the top, and they do work really well. And there's a lighter tint of silver just on the blade area, but you can see there's some nice notches and damage to that knife to make it look nice and used and worn. Clearly can take a beating, because this thing has been absolutely battered. Overall, it's a very nice accessory. The weight of it is a little heavy, so you might want to be careful with it. If she's not holding it properly, it could drag her down. It could damage the arm or pop the wrist out or snap a wrist peg. Next up, we're going to take a look at the mask, and I have to say this thing is really cool looking, but the edges around the side look a little bit like a sort of like a Chinese dragon in a sort of Chinese New Year parade, that kind of thing. And then on the back you've got this really cool looking tech. If you were to just look at it from the back, you'd think it looks like something from No Man's Sky or something. It's very space age, quite cool with those little cylinders sticking down the bottom. Again, flecking and speckling all the way throughout. Some nice weathering around the edges of the back of the helmet, and there's like some sort of antenna or something sticking out of the back. It's a bit like they've got all the traditional stuff up the front, but then at the back behind everything you can see this is like a future space tech type thing. I really like the accents, and you can actually take the Fox style face mask off the front, and you can just have her posed with the helmet without that face mask on, although it doesn't look very good and the magnets stick out a little bit. But saying that, I actually just like the weird sort of fox like mask on its own, and that would be really cool if she could actually have that posed on her head. We'll take a look and see if that's possible. Next up, she comes with a secondary head sculpt, and this one's really nice. Now I have to say, because of the prototype, They really did a great job. YM Toys are a bit notorious for this, a bit like Blitzway to be honest. They do an amazing job with the actual prototypes, a bit too good. You know, it's like over promising something, and then when you get the figure, it looks like a reasonably well painted 1/6 scale figure, but it's nowhere near on the same as the prototype. And the same goes for this. I'm thinking this reminds me with the streaking mascara and stuff of the Dr. BB figure that Blitzway Hunters brought out last year or the year before. It just comes with 6 extra hands, 4 in the box, 2 on her, 2 gun holding hands that are already on her. She also comes with 2 fisted hands and 2 gripping hands, and I really like what they've done with them. They've put real fabric wrap around the hands, such a nice touch. However, the wraps are fraying because it's obviously just cut material, and they haven't been able to, you know, close off those frayed ends, and their threads are starting to come loose. So what I'm thinking about doing is getting a tiny bit of fabric glue and just pushing those threads down and keeping them glued down, just in case they start coming undone. You don't want the whole fabric to come undone and come off those hands. She also comes with an extra set of beads. She's already wearing some, but even more beads. Again, little bit like the Blitzway Hunters, they like wearing beads. And she also comes with 2 weird sort of like segmented cut off monster limbs or tails or something like that. They just look like something she's absolutely decimated and chopped up into pieces. Can't really make out what they are. I think they're tails, but I'm not 100% certain. Are they like ghost dragon tails or something? Is it a serpent that she's cut up? I don't know what it is. Not a clue, but it looks pretty cool anyway. And that base. The base has no name tag on or anything, so it looks just like a street diorama, and it's got sort of a little bit of like rubble and urban decay and stuff, and it's got like a little bit of metal iron sort of rod sticking out of the concrete, little yellow line down the middle to suggest it's the middle of the road or something. Very nice, very cool. It's got some nice weight to it, and it's also got some nice padded feet on the bottom. It's not hollow. You can see that it is actually probably polystone or something similar like that. It's a fair bit of weight, and it looks really nice. And not only that, but if you're not going to use it with this figure, you could easily use it with any other figure in your collection just because it's that nice. My main problem with the stand is that it doesn't come with a crotch grabber or a waist grabber or anything like that. I'd much prefer that. These figures need stability. And if they don't have that, you're always going to have a little bit of anxiety as to whether or not today's the day it's going to swan dive off your shelf, or if it's going to like domino effect and take other figures out. Now, coming and having a look at the figure itself, she comes with a really nice head sculpt on. And the thing I really like about the head sculpt is when you first look at it, it looks a little generic, but if you actually look at it closely, the expression, it's a little bit sullen, it's a little bit sadder. She's not angry, she's not happy, she's not flat. There is some expression in there, and I really appreciate that, because it does actually make you look at the figure, and it is conveying a certain emotion. The paint application is pretty nice, but you have to have the right lighting for it, because if you have really stark bright lights just shining on it, it will reflect off the pale skin, and you're not really going to get those details. There is a slight blushing around the eyes and the cheeks, but it is very subtle, so you need to be able to get it lit just about right to show that off. I'm not sure if I can show it off as well in the video, but it is there. And I really like the nice glossy lips, and the eyelashes are nicely painted on. The hair is well sculpted. Again, it has a slightly anime feel, very much like the Blitzway Hunters. This isn't supposed to be realistic, it's supposed to be slightly anime in inspiration, and I think they've nailed that pretty well. Now, coming down to the body, she is rather curvaceous, which is fine by me, but you know, I would prefer if not every 1/6 scale figure had giant badonkadonks. Some of them, you know, they can be a bit slimmer, they can be a bit flatter. It really does add a bit of variety to the collection, but for some strange reason companies just go with really big chests. I think it's just to cover all bases and to get people's attention. But the posability is really nice. She can T-pose. She's got just over 90-degree bend at the elbows. Her arms can go straight out, they can go straight back. The hands are on wrist pegs. Unfortunately, the right arm on mine snapped just below the shoulder area, and it's flopping about quite a bit, which means she's not going to be super stable, which means it's not going to be fun to pose her around. I've contacted 16 Kit, and he says he's going to get in touch with the manufacturer and see what they can do. If they can send me out a new arm or a new body or whatever, that would be greatly appreciated. She does have some torso twist, not a lot though. The clothing restricts it. The legs can go out quite far. She has a double bend in the knees that are ratcheted, but it's also rubber legs, so there is no sort of seam. It is pretty seamless, and it looks good as well, especially through the stockings that she's got on and the boots, that you can see that there's no joints in there, and it looks seamless, and it looks far more realistic, and it looks good. The dress is pretty nice. Now, they've had to put some sort of plastic underneath to stop the black dress from staining the body. However, it does poke out in places, and I'll need to move that around because at the moment it looks like she's got a plastic bag wrapped around her. But the stitching on the dress is very nice, as is the waist belt. It looks really good. She also has a material pouch on the side of the leg. The logo is in the bottom left hand corner of the dress. Very cool, with that slight wine red accent that's also on the wraps on the hand. And as for the coat, there are some wires in the coat so you can pose it around a little bit. The edges and the back of the coat, it's a little bit messy with the stitching. The stitching throughout the rest of the coat is very, very nice. I like the pockets on the top of the arms, and it's really big, sort of thick collared coat. It does look like it doesn't fit her very well, but that kind of works with the character. It feels like maybe she took this off someone and is wearing it, or, you know, it's just overly stylized, humongous coat. Then coming down and having a look at those feet, and they are weird. I'm not sure. I mean, is she supposed to be cybernetic? I'm not entirely sure, but the feet are cybernetic, so are her feet supposed to be sort of stuffed down in there and these are like roller skates? Or, you know, did she have her feet removed and had these cybernetic implants put in itself? To be honest, I think you can just make up your own story. That's kind of the point here. I think they've done what they've done, and we'll never really know why they've done what they've done. But for us, you know, I'm happy to make up my own story with it. And they're really nice. There's some nice articulation in the front of the toes. I was worried that she was not going to balance on them. I was really concerned that as soon as I put her down properly, there was no balance. But it seems, yeah, it seems to have balanced out okay, but you do need to get that center of gravity. Otherwise, she is going to topple over it. It is a rubber body. It is pretty heavy, but you really do need to get the center of gravity. And again, that's why I said the crotch grabber is needed. But the paint applications all over are pretty good. I wouldn't say they're great because the prototype teased something way better, and it was never going to live up to that, but they could have gotten a little closer. But again, this is probably something that was made in the same factory as the Blitzway Hunters, so you know, the prototype is always going to be much better. And I have to say, overall, I really like the figure. It's something different, it's something unique. If you're going to get a whole load of 1/6 scale figures, you know, Superman, Batman, you know, Captain America and all that kind of stuff, it might be nice to have a few individual pieces that just stand out and stand on their own, and this would definitely fill that void. So overall, good figure, not great, would be a bit better if they'd have improved on the paint applications on the head sculpts like they promised on the prototype, but that's par for the course for some of these figures nowadays. And overall, if you're looking at this on the shelf rather than staring at the prototype photos all day, I think it will grow on you, and I think you'll really appreciate what they've done here, especially at the price point they've done it for. Okay, that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you do me a favour now, if you can get out of my cave. I've got to try and find space on my shelf for this lady. I think she's probably, yeah, she probably is going to end up very near the Blitzway Hunters. I'll have to move the Mulder and Scully X-File characters from 3.0, put them somewhere. I'm really running out of space. I have to sell some figures. Have you ever tried to sell some figures and you're just like, I don't want to sell any of them, but you also don't have room for all of them? And then people say, oh, we'll put them away and store them away somewhere, and I'm like, I don't want to put these away. You know, I don't want to hide them away in a cupboard. They don't deserve to be in a cupboard. They deserve to be on display, shown off somewhere. because they're that cool. But that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully I'll be back in the next few days, because I do want to show off some new figures that have been teased, including finally a new Jackie Chan figure, and I think somebody's teasing a Jinx from the Arcane TV show on Netflix. And I'm just like, if that goes up for pre-order, I think I'm pretty much guaranteed I'm going to pre-order that one. And here's hoping that they end up doing Vi as well. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye bye.